Thanks a lot, Mark. Mr. DeBee, do you have any comments on the Carpet Stewardship Program Enforcement Plan, or should we invite Christy up?
I just wanted to do a quick summary of
Fantastic.
the changes. Okay. So relative to the Carpet Stewardship Plan, at last month's meeting, May 16th, I reviewed the draft Carpet Stewardship Enforcement Plan. Today I'm going to review the final. The final was posted last week, as well as 2 copies of some comment letters, or copies of 2 comment letters that we received. The comments in those letters were considered and evaluated, but did not result in any significant changes to the plan. Changes to the draft plan are additions that were made for clarity. We did add a new requirement. We are now indicating that there needs to be a signature from a person authorized to act on behalf of the manufacturer in submittals that are sent to CalRecycle in response to requests embedded in the plan. There's been some changes in the plan to reflect the fact that it's now a final plan. The changes you will see are underlined in the final plan, so you can find them more easily. We expect implementation of the plan to begin very soon, perhaps even this week, with the initial sending of notices. Those notices are to provide adequate notice to the affected party, manufacturers, and outline, as does the plan, options for compliance. The notice will also include a CalRecycle contact phone number, so that if people affected by the plan receiving the notice have questions, they can call us and get assistance, answers to those questions and assistance. I wanted to remind folks that the plan does indicate that if sometime in the future there's a need to adjust the plan, that we'll do that in a public setting. We'll bring that forward to a monthly meeting and discuss the proposed changes. If folks have general questions about the plan or its implementation, they can still send those questions to the email address that's included. It's carpetenforcement@calrecycle.ca.gov. That's all. We'll take any questions now if there are any.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Heidi, sorry.
Our roving mics aren't working today. So.
Good morning. I'm Heidi Sanborn. I'm the Executive Director of the National Stewardship Action Council. We are affiliated with the California Product Stewardship Council. And our vision is that producers fairly share the responsibility in a circular economy. And too little, too late is something I've said at these hearings repeatedly, and we do believe that it is too little, too late for CARE to remain in control of the Carpet Stewardship Program. AB 2398 had a lot of positive things come from it, but it is fundamentally flawed, and NSAC has sponsored AB 1158 to fix it. The amendments are going to be public tomorrow, and comments and letters are due to Senate Environmental Quality by close of business Friday. We encourage anyone who wants to see this program work to support this bill. We believe even if CARE submits a plan that is approvable, that they have squandered the opportunity to control this program in California fee money. The money has supported burning and other ways of managing the carpet that we believe is not in alignment with California law. And we believe that the fines should start accruing by July 1st or sooner. The California fee payers expect that their 25 cents a yard are going to go to fund source reduction and recycling. Instead, in 2016, $1 million of the $16.6 million in fee money supported calf and kill burning of carpet. This to us is inexcusable. Additionally, the program has increased recycling only 1% a year, or 5% in total, between 2011 and 2016. This may be the worst state-mandated recycling program ever. We need a stewardship organization that has the best interests of California fee payers and ratepayers at heart. We urge CalRecycle to proceed with the fines and encourage the carpet mills who wish to be in compliance to leave care and to start a new stewardship organization. And we look forward to working with any companies or organizations that wish to do so. Thank you.
Good morning, Kelly McBee with the environmental group Californians Against Waste. We agree with the comments by Heidi with the California Product Stewardship Council. Also just wanted to express our disappointment that our comment letter that we submitted on this item, our suggestions within that were not included, but thank you for considering our letter. I'd further just like to express our disappointment that we're in this situation, that clearly CARE has demonstrated that they have failed to execute the intent of this law. And given that their last plan was disapproved in December and new plans won't be submitted until October of this upcoming year, that's an entire year operating under an outdated program and a large missed opportunity to execute the intent of the law, which is to increase carpet recycling here in California. We look forward to the new opportunity that we hope AB 1158 will bring and look forward to continuing to participate in this process. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Miriam Gordon. I'm with the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives. I want to support the comments by California Product Stewardship Council and Californians Against Waste, and in addition express our disappointment, the disappointment of my organization that the gist of our comment letter on this enforcement plan was also not followed. And would just like to say that in terms of the proposed enforcement plan, because CARE has been out of compliance from 2013 to 2015 and twice failed to provide an approvable plan for the next 5 years starting 2017, because CARE has failed to make meaningful progress on recycling and instead has increased the transformation or burning of carpet and kiln and waste to energy at a much higher rate than recycling. And we believe that the department has come to the correct conclusion that CARE should no longer be an approved stewardship organization. However, by proposing to give CARE another chance to submit a stewardship proposal by October 19th, you're not really rejecting CARE as a stewardship organization. It's really just giving them a third shot at providing an approvable plan for the future. We feel that manufacturers should instead only be given the opportunity to execute compliance option B, submission of an individual carpet stewardship plan or membership in an alternative stewardship organization. And I just want to make a note about what should be required in future stewardship plans. The Public Resources Code requires the department to follow a hierarchy of waste management that puts land disposal and transformation at the bottom and says that in order to reduce the amount of solid waste that you must maximize all feasible source reduction, recycling, and composting in order to reduce the amount of solid waste that is disposed of by land and disposal and transformation. So we would encourage the department to adopt a policy that future stewardship programs demonstrate how the quantity of waste that's being transformed in waste to energy, kiln, and possibly CAF be continually decrease. And finally, in terms of levying, in terms of the fines and the penalties, we believe that it's been appropriate that CalRecycle has levied penalties from 2013 to 2015 for CARE being out of compliance. A little confused about what's going on with 2016 since they have no approved plan. Why aren't penalties being levied for 2016? And why is the department suggesting that if no approved stewardship plans for 2017, if the plans are not approved, that the penalties for 2017 start in July rather than January? Just a little confused about that and would appreciate some clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much for your comments. I'll try and tease this part a little bit, and if I get lost in the details, you guys can help me out. At the highest level, I Certainly appreciate the frustration with the situation that we're in. All three commenters have expressed that. We share that frustration. We share the sentiment that we've, I don't know if I would quite express it like we've lost a year, but certainly this has dragged out longer than we certainly would have liked. But certainly we have our obligation is to implement the program in a neutral, balanced way to try and achieve the mandates of the statute. And I'm not aware of anything in the statute that would suggest that we could prohibit any organization from resubmitting a plan based on failed past plans. Can you guys, is there something that I'm not aware of here that I'm missing on that?
No, the statute doesn't give us the authority to prohibit who can submit a plan.
That being the case, I mean, not that we would have intent to do that anyways. I just want to make the clarification from a legal perspective. With respect to providing, I know there's disappointment that the timelines seem extensive in terms of allowing manufacturers opportunity to resubmit in October, and that does seem like a long time. But frankly, again, out of an interest in ensuring that we can get plans that are achievable, we are not just focused on care, we're focused on the entire world of manufacturers here, many of which who maybe for the first time are really engaging with an internal process of determining whether they want to submit a plan. They don't have the benefit of having operated one for all these numbers of years, and we can't set up multiple timelines for all the different manufacturers. There's no justification for treating them differently. So we really have to, again, just be very neutral in our enforcement of the program and implementation of the program, despite I appreciate the frustrations and the timing of this thing. Miriam, with respect to the 2016 penalties, I wonder if we're talking about apples and oranges a little bit. Are you referring to penalties against, would you mind coming back down? Because I want to ask you to be a little more specific. Are you referring to penalties against CARE, the organization, or against manufacturers? And when you're talking about 2016, specifically when you're talking about 2016 penalties, because it's my understanding that there's still the opportunity. I mean, where are we with the status of reporting in 2016 and penalties? And then I'll let you respond, Mary.
Well, we haven't gotten the annual report yet for 2016. That's due in another month or so, and at that point, then we'll make a determination and proceed from there.
And that's separate and apart from resubmission of anything else, right? That's a past action that we'd be
Correct.
looking at independently.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So is that, sorry to drag you back down here, is that responsive? Were you referring to, when you were referring to penalties, Miriam, 2016 penalties potentially against CARE for failure to implement the program?
Yes. Do they have an approved stewardship program for 2016?
Their plan went through the end of 2016. So the plan that was disapproved was the one that would have started in 2017.
And that report for that year is yet to be submitted to us for review.
Okay, well, that makes sense to me.
Okay.
I don't understand why, if a stewardship organization submits a plan that is not approved under the proposed enforcement plan for moving forward for 2017, why the penalties would start in July as opposed to January.
Okay, and in that context, penalties against whom? Manufacturers? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yes.
So, okay.
The manufacturer that submits a stewardship plan that is not approved for 2017, your enforcement plan, if I read it correctly, that's being proposed today would start fines or penalties starting in July, correct?
Go ahead, Mark, if you want to clarify.
Yeah, the plan is a multi-step process, and so if there's a failure to follow through on complying with the one step, then penalties can accrue for those manufacturers that failed to do that. For example, in the first step, there's a notice
Right, failed
with
to
a
do it,
request
too.
to reply to that notice by date certain. If they fail to do that, then penalties can accrue relative to that.
Right.
Relative to the plan submittal, it's an October date,
Yeah.
October 19, and if they fail to submit a plan, then penalties can begin accruing on the next day. So I'm not sure of a January date. It's not in the plan.
You have a July date for failure to either submit a plan or failure to submit an approved plan, I believe. I'd have to pull the language up in front of me.
I think the July date is for submittal of a choice of option 1 or 2, right?
Right.
And
So,
so
but
that's
why
when
wouldn't
they
it start
can
in
incur
January?
liability. Because the first requirement now on manufacturers in our enforcement plan, the first requirement for them is to submit a response to the department indicating how they intend to comply. And so that's the first obligation. And if they fail to comply with that obligation, they could be subject to penalties beginning in July. Is that right?
Yes, and why we picked July is we wanted to ensure that all the manufacturers had proper notice so
Absolutely,
that they were
yeah.
fully aware of their non-compliant situation.
Yeah.
And so that's why we didn't go back in time to, I guess it's January 17 is what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Okay, I had 18 in my mind, so.
January 17th.
So it's timed with when we have noticed them and they've
Okay, so I see what's
had
happening.
a
You're
chance to
asking
respond.
why we aren't pursuing penalties retroactive to January 1st of this year?
Yeah, which
Oh,
would
okay.
be the beginning of the
Would be.
time in which there is no approved stewardship
Okay,
program.
yes, that is totally correct. That would be. And our response is that before we enforce upon any entity, we want to make sure a few things are in place. One is that there's an awareness of an obligation. And so it makes sense to us to make sure that we put all manufacturers on notice so that when we do pursue enforcement, that there's been adequate notice and a fair opportunity to respond. And we feel like that's the time that was necessary to achieve that.
Okay, thank you.
So I now maybe have, let me just check, make sure I haven't missed any other thoughts. Here, 2016 penalties. No, I don't have any further comments. Do you guys have anything else you want to wrap up?
I think the one other comment was about adopting a policy regarding the hierarchy, and we do have regulations that actually address what is allowed in the plan. We would not be able to adopt a policy to change those rules. We would have to revise those regulations.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any further comment on this item? Okay. Mark?
Great, so we'll, unless you direct otherwise, we'll begin implementation of the plan as soon as we are able.
Yep, I'll sign this today.
Okay.
All right, okay. That is our last agenda item, so thank you very much for coming to our public meeting.